Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop. This is American walnut. I bought it off Facebook Marketplace. I saw a gentleman selling a big stack of it, so I offered him a fair amount of money and bought some. I didn't have any particular plans for it when I bought it, but I knew I just really wanted it, so I parted with my money and now it's here. It's actually been here for a very long time. It's been here for well over a year, so it's about time I did something with it. Now, what I'm planning to do is a glue up, basically gluing lots of pieces together to make an interesting piece. So what we've got to play with is, first of all, this stack of walnut. I have 12 strips of veneer, which I think is cedar, although I could very easily be wrong. And also this slab of maple, which I've already turned one piece from. Now, when I turn pieces like this from a plank, I generally don't use the other half of the plank on camera because I generally don't like to repeat myself with the same type of wood. But this gives us a good excuse to use it because it's going to be nothing like the previous piece we made from this piece of wood. So, step one is we have to cut a number of lengths of this, 11 inches long, and then we can glue them together with strips of this in between. Now it does sound fairly simple so far, but we are going to go through a different process halfway through, which should hopefully elevate this above the normal. Right, so first of all, let's get some of this cut. Okay, now not all of these strips of walnut are in perfect condition. For instance, that one's got a knot in it, and a few have got splits as well, so I'm going to be very selective as I'm going through to try and choose the best pieces of each one. I think I need about 5 or 7. When using numbers like this to create a pattern, generally odd numbers work better. They're more visually appealing. So I think on this first batch, all the tops seem pretty good, so I can put them all pretty much through together. I'm just going to put a clamp on each end as well, just to help me hold them. There we go. And I've set up a stop on this side, again to make sure I get them all at 11 inches long. That was remarkably undramatic, which I am really pleased for. Right, so there's our first batch, and that's 6. So I'm going to select one of the better ones from the slot and make a couple more, just so I have some spare just in case. Good. Right, we need to do one more thing with the bandsaw before we're done here, and that's to cut our veneers in half. Okay, I've taped the veneers together to make them easier and safer to cut as a batch, and I've set my guides up at just the right depth so I can take it all at one pass. I'm going to be pushing them through with push rods. My fingers are not going to get anywhere near it, and I've dropped this down as well so it's nice and low. All nice and safe and no dramas. Right, I'm going to cut an inch off the end of these to make sure that they're the same as the other pieces of wood we cut, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start gluing them together. Okay, so ready for the next stage. We've got our 7 strips of walnut and our strips of veneer, and we're going to glue them together, alternating between each one like that. At the very end, we're going to stick one there, and you'll see why later on. just been thinking, I haven't done a glue up like this in this new workshop, which I'm not surprised really, because it really is quite messy. Good fun though. Now because we're using veneer on the very last one, that's going to make it hard to clamp against. So I've got another strip of walnut here and I've just covered it in a black plastic covering. And I'm going to be clamping that there, and that will help us apply pressure across the whole strip without getting anything stuck to it. Right, so I'll now get my clamps and hold this all together. Right, give this 24 hours to dry, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so next morning this has had plenty of time to dry, so we'll extricate it from its prison. Excellent. Right, looks pretty good. Right, I'm going to quickly sand up the sides of this just so it's ready for the next step. Okay, that's tidied that up a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect, just better than it was. So we'll put that to one side and start on the next piece. Right, now this is the block of maple I showed you at the start, and we've got to cut this to the same width as our wood. So first of all we need a flat edge. Doesn't need to be perfectly flat, but this is relatively straight. So I'll just start measuring this out. Right, I'm now going to cut out this centre bit on the bandsaw. Okay, so that's our blank cut out nicely. Now the whole purpose of this video is to insert this piece into there. But we are going to be doing something else to hopefully make this look a little bit more interesting. Now, I don't want this to run through the center. I want it to be slightly offset. So I want it to be about there, I think. I'll just quickly mark on the slab kind of area we want to have it. Now we need to get these two attached together, but we can't do it with obviously wood glue, because we need to be able to get them apart afterwards. So what I'm going to do is tape both surfaces with a bit of masking tape. Like that. And then we're going to stick this one to here using CA glue. Now the idea is it's going to stick the tape to the tape, but not the wood to the wood. Just a bead down each length of tape. We're going to spray some activator onto this side, so when we do bring them together they will bond fairly quickly. Obviously we want to make sure that we get it nice and square, or at least lined up a bit. There we go, nicely stuck. Now the next bit scares me. Now for the next part I'm going to run this whole thing through the bandsaw together, but I'm not just going to cut straight through. I'm going to attempt to curve the line in some way. It's going to be very freeform. I'm not going to stick to this line I'm just drawn. I'm just going to wing it and see how it goes. But I want to have any line except straight. So. Okay, that was completely nerve-wracking, but far simpler than I could have ever hoped for. So what we've got now is two halves that we can just break apart and move on to the next stage. Now, you may be wondering what on earth is the point of all this. Well, if we put that into there, because that mirrors that cut, and that one on that side, because that mirrors that cut, and then push them together, we end up with a nice large piece and a curved inlay down the middle. Now, there's a couple of gaps on these edges which I wasn't quite anticipating. I think what might have happened is that the blade of the bandsaw may have just flexed slightly sideways, causing one to be larger than the other, but I'm sure we can work around that in some way. It's not all the way through, it's just, if I was to turn this over, it's much better on this side. So I think rather than using wood glue to glue these together, I'm going to use a coloured epoxy. Alright, so I'm going to set up for gluing this lot together. Okay, now to glue these together, I'm going to be using a 2-part epoxy resin. You can get this kind of stuff at most DIY places. We'll just mix this together thoroughly. There's a Japanese art form called kitsugi, and it's the art of fixing broken items or pottery using gold as to highlight the cracks and show the life of the item. So, as I have made a slight mistake on those cuts, we are going to embrace them. We're going to colour this gold. I'm not going to try and hide them. So I'm just sprinkling some Let's Resin gold mica powder in there. Okay, right, let's stick these together. Don't ever expect things to always go right the first time you try it. This is the first time I've used this method, and I'm certainly learning a lot. I'm sure we can get it over the finishing line in the end. And it's certainly going to be a lot of fun getting it there. Let's get these together and glued up. Another 24 hours have gone by. This all looks nice and dry. So we'll again release it from the clamps and figure out what to do next. Okay, there we go. I've knocked down all the excess resin on the top and the bottom, and I think we're ready to move forward. So what I've got now is a template to put over the top. Now I did initially think about leaving it a nice rectangle shape, but as Easter is coming, I thought a nice oval, or almost an egg, would be nicer. Right, I cut this template out on my laser. I'll just draw around this. Now, that's drawn round. I'll hold it in place a little bit longer. I'll just get my centre punch and mark the middle. There we go, got a good mark there. Excellent. Right, back onto the bandsaw, and I'll cut this out. Now, as a point of interest, I figured out where I went wrong with the cuts I made earlier on the bandsaw. It was because my bed and my blade weren't completely square to each other. So any fraction of a degree out in this angle will relate to double the problems we had. And that's exactly what happened with here. So at least I know that it was all my fault, and it was all because I hadn't correctly set up the bandsaw before I'd made the cuts. Right, so we're going to cut this shape out. Hopefully all will go well, and then we can get it on the lathe. Right, wonderful. Not perfect, but considering how much of that I do on the bandsaw, I'm pretty pleased. I'm going to quickly drill a hole for our worm screw, and we'll get it on the lathe. Yay, we're actually on the lathe, and we're ready to start turning. I'm going to start turning at about 800 RPM. Initially, I'm just going to flatten off this surface, take a look at the joints, and then we can pick up the speed and start shaping it a little bit more. Face shield will be on, and I'm using a 3/8 inch ball gouge. Okay, still got a bit of resin to get past there. Everything else looks amazing. I know we've still got to reveal the other side yet, but I am so happy. Right, I'm going to mark up for a foot first of all, which I think will be around there. And then we'll start working up the sides and start shaping it. Now, I've always wanted this to be a kind of a platter shape. I think it's going to make a very, very striking piece for a sideboard or something like that, or a centre of a food spread with cold meats or cheeses on it, or vol au vents, or whatever else you want to put on there. So it's going to have a raised foot, so we're going to be going in there a little bit, and then a nice curve up to the edge. Okay, still early days. I just wanted to check how these edges were taking those cuts, because normally you're best cutting uphill, but obviously with the tailstock there I can't do that, so I'm just going to make sure that there's no chipping out happening. But we're all okay. It's good. There's some beautiful figure in this maple, and this was the less figured side. When I turned the other piece, it was absolutely amazing. I got this from a luthier, a guy who makes musical instruments, and it was specifically cut, I think with the intention of going a guitar or something like that, but I stole it. I didn't steal it, I bought it to make bowls out of. Okay, progress is going well. And we've cleared all that resin now, so I can see that these joints really are far better than I deserve, which is really nice to see. Now, I am going to keep on working these top corners pretty much right up to the edge, probably about 1/8 of an inch short. And the halfway point, which is our lowest point, I'm going to take up until it's about there. So it's this angle, like a shallow curve, that will end up on the rim, or on the top of the bowl, as it were. That's the kind of shape I'm wanting for the platter area. So I've just got to keep on working this up until I reach that shape on this side, and then we can turn it over and hollow it out to match it on the other side. The rim, again, is going to be about 1/8 of an inch, I think. I don't want it much thicker than that. Okay, looking good. As you can see, we're getting closer and closer to this line. I didn't draw it evenly on both sides, so it's not perfect, but we are definitely getting close to where we want to be on here. Now, I just stopped at this point on the couple of last passes, because with pieces like this, I like to generally put like a little bit of detail on the bottom, so it looks like the platter sat on a plate underneath it. So I'll do a couple more passes, make this a little bit deeper, and then I'll concentrate a little bit more on the bottom. Okay, really like that. When I'm sanding, I'll just soften that curve a little bit. Now, the last couple of cuts I made there, rather than riding the bevel to create a clean cut, I turned the ball gouge almost upside down, so it was cutting with just this leading edge here. And as that leading edge is pointing down, as the wood comes across it, it slices it off nice and cleanly. It's called a shear cut. It's very, very handy for helping to clean up the surfaces without having to resort to get the gouge over this side and turning uphill, as it were. Right, I think we need to worry about a recess now, and then almost ready for sanding. Okay, I think that will do very nicely. I'll set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, but I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, sanding went absolutely marvellously. I'm going to apply a bit of isopropyl alcohol just to clean off any excess dust. And I don't know where to start. It's going to look so nice. There's some amazing ripple in this maple. And there's some beautiful chatoyance in the walnut as well. It's got it all going on. If you've enjoyed it so far, I'd really appreciate you hitting that like button. And if you could subscribe as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. It's completely free, doesn't cost you anything, and it makes a great deal of difference to us. Thank you. Okay, right, we'll give this a chance to dry off, and then we'll come back on with a sealer, I think. Right, that's all nice and dry, so I'm going to go on with a sealer. Now this is the weakest sealer I have. It's an equivalent to a 5% shellac sealer, so it's if you're in America, it's the equivalent to a ½ pound cut. The reason why I'm putting this on as opposed to the 10% is because we're using an oil-based wax finish over the top of this, and I want the oils in the wax to be able to still get into the wood and do with their waterproofing properties, so this can be used for food and anything else. Okay, this won't take long to dry, so we'll come back in 5 minutes and put the wax top coat on. Okay, that's all nice and dry. I did say I was going to come straight back on with a top coat, but I'm just going to give it a quick going over with a Scotch pad, which is about 600 grit first, just to denib it in case any of the isopropyl alcohol has just raised any of the grain. Just wipe off any excess dust with a cloth. Right, now the finish we're using is a 15% beeswax to mineral oil finish. It's quite a loose wax, as you can see. The reason why I'm using this is because it's going to help waterproof the wood, and it's really easy to reapply again and again as the piece gets used. It's not going to give us a high gloss shine, but it will give us a nice sheen after a few coats. Okay, I'll give this a few minutes just to sit on the surface, allow the oils to get into the wood and do their thing, and then we'll buff it off. If it needs another coat, I'll add another one. Apart from that, I shall bring you back when we're ready to start the other side. Okay, we've turned it around, and now for part two. We know where we want to be, down to that line there, and about there on the edges. So we're going to take this nice and slowly. We'll clear it some area in the middle and then start working in from the edges. Turning speed is now at about 900 RPM. Carry on with a 3/8 inch bell gouge. Okay, that's got the surface mostly cleared. We've still got a lower area there from a different sized plank, but the glue up areas look amazing. So far, apart from that residue there, I can't see any of our original resin that we put into the joins. Maybe I didn't do such a bad job as I thought I had. Okay, just checking the width of these top edges. I think we're pretty much there. Now, in order to keep this similar thickness going all the way through, I'm standing fairly upright at the lathe with my eyesight going right on this edge so I can see both sides at once. And from there I can see the tool edge and the back of the bowl, and I can check that the distances are going to be the same. That's the theory anyway. Okay, now hopefully, yeah. Right, I've just done the final pass on this top area to set the overall width, and which is here, and you can see that's pretty much all exactly the same depth, which means that the cut is going in nice and square. Maybe a slight bit thicker here than it is here, but so far that looks looking pretty good. Right, so we're going to clear a bit more area and then repeating this cutting in of this edge as we go in. Okay, I'm just ready to do that final profile on this next bit. I'm just going to quickly go and sharpen up again so I can get the cleanest cuts possible. Excellent. Hardly a tool mark. Maybe a slight one there, slight ridge. So I'll get that on the next pass. Right, we'll continue now. Do the same process to the rest. That was so much fun. Right, barring a little tiniest of ridges there, I think we're done. Right, that is on the D. Right, just so I can spot it. Yep, we got it. Right, we're ready for sanding. Last check over of these joints, there are no gaps whatsoever. So I don't know what I was going on about. Okay, right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. There we go, all done. Right, back on with the isopropyl alcohol. Let's see what's hiding underneath. Right, I'll give this a chance to dry, then we'll come back on with our sealer. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so back on again with our 5% shellac sealer. Do the edges as well. Right, and when this dries, we'll just denib it and then come back on with our wax again. Right, I'm now ready for the final finish. Right, as before, I'll let this seep in for a little bit and then come back on, buff it off and see if it needs any more coats. I shall see you again when we're all done and we can take a look at the finished article. Well, there we go, my entry into this year's Easter egg competition. I'm so pleased we managed to get it to the end. This is the first time I've tried this sort of inlay. I've known about the technique for a little while, but I've never had the guts to give it a go. And when I was cleaning out the woodshed the other day and I came across all that walnut I'd bought, I thought, well, now's the time. I'm going to try it. And I'm really pleased. So we've got a beautiful rippled figured maple with walnut and whatever this wood is in between. I bought it at the Woodworkers show in Harrogate last November, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is. I think it's a beautiful contrast with the walnut. Overall, I am very, very happy with it. It's going to be a very useful piece. Whether or not I'll keep it, I'm not quite sure, but there we go. Anyway, so as I mentioned last week, I am going to list a few items for sale on eBay. My wife's told me that she's got too many around the house and they need to be gone. So we are listing this apple bowl we made at the start of the year. This London plain wobble bowl that doesn't have a base, so it can wobble around. Now, be warned, this one has gone a little out of round. It wasn't quite fully seasoned when I bought it, and it has just gone a fraction oval. Also, this piece, with it being a round bottom, I can't put my mark on there, so I have burnt my logo on the bottom as well. Also, the beautiful natural edge elm bowl we made, again, a few months ago. This one has the magnificent feathering going through the center. The last one of this batch is the other apple piece we made. It's taking a lot for me to let this one go because I absolutely adore the shape on this. Anyway, these will all be listed on eBay. There'll be a link in the description below to the listings. It's going to be a £1 start and the biddings will go to wherever they go. All the money raised from the auctions are going to get put straight back into the channel. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of funds to run a channel like this, so any money raised from the sales of these pieces will get put straight back into buying new equipment and more wonderful wood for us to turn. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.